to carry back to Mississippi is that, look, we have to get our act together because those folk in South Carolina got it going on. And so I wonder if Dr. King were here today, what would he say? Would he say that all the marching, all the other things I endured was for naught, or are we on our way? Well, I'm happy to tell you that I've been talking to a lot of people since I've been here, and I understand, South Carolina, you on your way. Because let me tell you why. When injustice happens, you're always in the way. You know, sometimes you get in the way because you don't like what's going on. When this South Carolina legislature decided to redistrict and cut people of color out so you couldn't pick the people of your choice, your Brother Boykins and others decided to go to court. And guess what? God doesn't like ugly. And so the courts even said, no, you're wrong. And so I'm excited to come here to see that people are still about the business of fighting and resisting justice, injustice anywhere. So, but on a personal note, I want to tell you, I was here in South Carolina when nobody gave Joe Biden a snowball's chance and you know what, to become president of the United States. And they said, wait, but you in South Carolina. You're not in Iowa, you're not in New Hampshire, you're not in Nevada, you in South Carolina. In South Carolina, we determine our own destiny. We don't say, listen to the pollsters. We don't listen to the people on Fox TV and all that other stuff. We determine our own destiny. So when somebody gets up and says, look, if you support me for president, the first chance I get, I'm going to nominate a black woman on the United States Supreme Court. Now, what did South Carolina did? You supported that person in record numbers. Yeah. So, you know, you've done the right thing. You got bragging rights. And that's why when that person got to be elected president and they decided now, where should the first primary be for the next presidential election? Somebody said, well, we got to go back to Iowa. We going to South Carolina. Because look, there's nothing like voting for somebody who remembers who voted for them. And so that's why we're not going to let people divide us from people we support. So I know you're going to stick tight. I want to come back when the primary is going on and hang out with Jim Clyburn and a whole bunch of other folk because it's good for South Carolina. When you do the right thing, you should get rewarded. And so you are being rewarded for that. Don't let nobody talk to you about history and tradition, because if that means, they say, well, you know, slavery started in the South. That doesn't mean we need to continue it. So just like when other things happen, you have to change. So I compliment you, South Carolina, for sticking to it, doing the right thing, not listening to the posters about all that other crazy stuff, and you did the right thing. So, as a son of the South, all of us are the sum total of our experiences. And some people say, why you act like that? What you mean? So, well, we trying to get along with everybody, and y'all come along. You people, they. And you say, well, you mean because we want our own privileges, something's wrong with us? Yeah, because we trying to get along, and you trying to divide us. You belong to those organizations that talks about equity, equality, and those things. Well, isn't that what the framers of the Constitution said? That in America, we're all one, and shouldn't we be following that? Say, yeah, but that's going to divide us. Oh, let me say, you wrong, but you want me to be right over here. No. One thing about that second-class education they gave us, if they put it in our head, they can't take it from us. And so that second-class education has decided that you know what's best for yourself. So I encourage you to continue to fight for the education of our children. Continue to fight for health care. You know, I can't get you to understand how difficult it is for me, for my colleagues who profess to be Christians in Washington, and then they talk about, well, I don't know why they want to provide health care for everybody. But when I look in my Bible, it tells me that I ought to be helping the elderly, the sick, and the infirm. But then they start to say, well, but it's going to cost a lot. Wait now. Every time we start talking about in Washington helping people, they talk about how much it costs, balancing the budget. The last 4 years of Donald Trump, you never heard balancing the budget. You never heard the debt limit, because he spent money like a drunken sailor and nobody said anything. And so all of a sudden, when you get somebody there who understands equity and inclusion, we got this debt limit. You know, lady told me at one of my town hall meetings, I don't understand this stuff about debt limits. I said, what you mean? She said, don't we print the money? I said, well, you got a point there. But more important is every time you talk about helping the least of these, people start talking about the debt limit and how much it costs. We don't talk about the millionaire farmers who get money not to plant a crop, or get money guaranteeing the price for the commodities they raise. But all we're trying to do is just make life better for our people. And that's what Martin talked about. You know, when he first came here, they said, he's talking heresy. He's talking about us fighting for our rights. And you know some churches right here in this community, when Martin first came, preachers, they wouldn't open the doors for him. They called, when he leaves, we got to live with these folks. You know what I'm saying? But now everybody loves Martin. You know, even the rascals love Martin. And so what we have to do is to make sure that people understand the importance of what Martin stood for. And so that's why when I chaired the January 6th committee, it was easy for a son of somebody's whose mama taught his daddy how to write his name. Because during those days, black boys had to go to work. They didn't go to school, but also I had some experiences. Some of you heard about them this morning in other speakers, but I know what it is to go to public school and never have a new textbook. There were always names in the book of children that I didn't know. You know, the Y singers, the guys of breast, and all that. They didn't stay across the track. You know, it was the Smiths, the Joneses, the Johnsons, and the Thompsons. And then I finally found out that these were the books that were passed down from the white school to my school. And then I had to try to learn from those books. But worse than that, I was always one president behind in my history book. I was always one governor behind, because I never had new textbooks. But you know, my teachers did a wonderful job. You know, they helped raise us in the community. And then they knew if they could get it in our heads, they couldn't take it from us. And I thank my teachers for that. I thank them for that. I want you to never forget that. So for me to chair the committee that I think has been the most significant committee, and you know, I'm a double HBCU graduate. You know what I'm saying? I take second step to nobody, because I love it. You know, I cherish it and I fight for it every day. but it was sitting in that seat. It showed me the awesome power of what people are all about in this country. But I also saw how bad people in good places can do wrong. And so, but for the importance of what you saw, the majority of the people who testified during our hearing, they were Republicans. You know, they said, look, we might differ on the party, but we don't differ on our love for this country. And what that fellow, and you know who that fellow is, what he stood for is not who we are as Americans. And because of that, we are here to testify. And everybody would always hear that little buzz in the background. Well, you know, it's just a partisan witch hunt. No, it's not. You can come and testify before our committee. We welcome you. But you're going to have to do it on the oath. You just can't come run that mouth and think you're going to go home. No, and if you come and we catch you lying, we're going to charge you with perjury. And so none of them came. We offered them, said, look, in America, we have our differences, but now when you take an oath, there's a difference. And so what you saw all that time was making a difference. Yes. But what a lot of people saw in this country was that a black person can run it, a black person can run it right, a black person can run it to make you proud that you are doing it just like you used to. But you know, the importance is, I learned Robert's Rules of Order in that segregated school. My English teachers taught me parliamentary procedure. You know, they don't even teach it now. But when we grew up, that was part of our education. And so they said, oh, you know, you saw this. Yeah, I think Miss Brown, I think Miss White, you know, I think Miss Payne. Because one thing about it, when Bennie didn't get his lesson, he got certain application then when he got home, he really got the second application. And so it was in Bennie's best interest to get his lesson. And I thanked him for it. And so now we just have to talk to our young folks. But back then, we applied certain incentives for education. And it worked. So now, I love being in crowds like this because it's important for us to talk about going forward. Now, we are here on these hallowed grounds for the right purpose. Now, after tomorrow, are we going to still be pursuing the perfect union? And pursuing that means monitoring our legislature, publicizing the good, the bad, and the ugly that they do, and they do a lot. You know what I'm saying? In Missouri, they're now saying that women have to dress a certain way in the legislature.
Wow.
Now, I'm saying, why y'all picking on women? You know, y'all just decide, you know, this whole issue about a woman's right to choose. All these men going crazy about what women do. I'm saying, let the women decide, men. Don't just go out here and do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that we can do if we participate. But in the spirit of Martin, we can't be a spectator. You know, you got to participate. And sometimes the politics is a contact sport. You got to, you know, roll up your sleeves and say, look, I remember the last time you ran for office. You made all these promises about what you were going to do for the community. And now here you come back 4 years later talking about those same promises. Said, but you know, I got you on video making those promises. And so you're going to have to do something better this time. So you might have somebody named Santos running in your community. You know what I'm saying? So you better keep up with folks' record so when they come back, you got them. You got them. I encourage you to do that. Everybody that runs for office is not a good person. And that's why organizations like the one represented here, your job is to help vet the people who run it. So if they're sending their children to the wrong school, you need to bring it up. Or if they're attending a church that's not open to everybody who comes, then you need to talk about that. You know, if you are a Christian, don't hide behind, well, you know, our church, we got a policy that if certain folk come, the deacon board got to approve their coming. Oh my Lord. Now your Jesus is now a clearinghouse for participation in your church.
Right.
So all I'm saying to you is just keep the record. When Martin used to preach, he spoke the word, he spoke the record on people. And so this is what you have to do. And that's why staying here today is so important, and being here every year preaching the word that Martin. So if Martin was here today, he'd said, thank goodness for those folk in South Carolina. They haven't forgotten my dream. They're keeping that dream alive. Thank God for the work that they